All right, good morning. I'm going to call this meeting to order with time being 7:30. First item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Well, does anybody have any changes?
We're going to request that we add as number 9, technology services and transportation budget.
Say that again, Michelle.
Technology services and transportation budget.
Thank you.
And is that the only change?
It's the only change, yes, sir.
Okay. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Matt, I can't hear you that well. I don't know if you're talking low, if I'm far away.
Yeah, you're kind of far
me.
away.
All right, let me see if I can make this louder.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you. It's just don't go low on me.
I think it picks up the mic on the phone. That's why she can't hear me. Because the phone needs to be in the middle.
Can you move it? Yeah, there's a microphone right over the top of the phone.
Yeah, because I can hear Ms. Morris. Wow, perfect.
Yeah, because I'm loud and right next to her. I don't think it'll go any further than that.
Oh, we'll bring the mic over here.
Oh, this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a mic?
Yeah. All right, is that better, Leslie?
Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Perfect.
Thank you, Tyler.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the March 6, 2018 and March 27th open session minutes. Everybody had a chance to look those over?
Yeah,
I did.
I just scanned it.
Okay.
It looked okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the 2 dates.
Okay, all those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, the strategic plan implementation update. As you know, with the budget and realignment meetings, we've gotten a little behind on our strategic plan update, implementation update presentations to the board. You received this about 2 months ago in your packets from Ms. McKinnon, is the initiative owner on this. And I just wanted to put it back in your packet and let you know that she will be at the board meeting in May to present this to the board. That's all that I had on there.
Thank you. Looks good.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle.
We will be back on schedule now after this.
Okay. All right, our next item is the Chromebook Rfp Selection. I guess, Jay, if you want to talk about that.
As Jay's coming up to the table, I'll just add that obviously this is a big portion of our proposed budget. We are actually a little bit behind on replacing devices for students. And as the board has been told already, this coming fall would be the time to replace Chromebooks for grades 6 through 12. Mr. Parker and the finance team have gone through a pretty deliberate and elaborate RFP selection process that involved parents, students, teachers, and administrators on the selection process. So, Jay, I'll turn it over to you, but you'll see the number reflected in the budget request that's coming to the full board.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Houlihan. In front of you is our process for the Chromebook RFP that we completed. We started on January 12th. On February 28th, it ended. Brant Fitzgerald and Finance and I opened up all the bids. We narrowed it down to really 3 selections of vendors. On the last day when we were asking for quotes, one vendor backed out, Tiber Creek backed out. So it narrowed it down to Virtucom and Lenovo, which is the HP and the Lenovo products. As you can see in front of you, we have 96 participants that evaluated the products, gave us a rubric scoring. The total scoring is over to the far right. It consisted, like Dr. Houlihan said, of a cross-section of parents, students, and staff. What I included in here also is our rubric scoring sheets that showed you the way the scoring happened, the questions that we asked the individuals, and the cost, the total cost of the Lenovo RFP is $855,000. and the budget was 10.2 million. So Lenovo has come in under the bid cost of what the allotment was. And also within that Lenovo, you get intangibles such as Land School, which is a Chromebook monitoring software that allows teachers to see the screens of the students using the Chromebooks. So in a classroom, they're able to see that. Teachers are able to look at a monitor up front and see all of the Chromebook screens in the room, which they've asked for a long time for classroom management. It's typically $3 to $5 a machine, and Lenovo is giving that as part of the RFP package. Also, they're replacing the cases, the hard shell cases on the Chromebooks. Currently, we do not have cases on our Chromebooks, and the new ones will have hard shell cases to protect them and minimize damages. At 3 years, Lenovo will replace those hard shell cases at a cost of $500,000, which is a huge benefit. And they've also offered some assistance with summer refresh and cleanup of our devices and repairs. So in the end, doing a thorough examination of all of our products and cross-section of it, we recommend Lenovo is the RFP winner for the next 5 years on the lease. As you can see, the numbers are up on the board. It's about just over $2 million a year is the lease payment, but we're going to come in under that because the total cost was only $855,000.
Million. 8 million.
Oh, 855,000.
Per year. Okay.
Per year.
Okay. Well.
Oh, a million. Yeah, per year. So the just over 2 million a year, 10.2 million is what the total budget was, and we're going to come back under it.
Okay.
Jay, excuse me real quick. This is Joe. Can you just direct me to which document you guys are reviewing? You said
Yes.
like a presentation doc.
It's slide 24 on the when we have the proposed capital budget. Oh, I'm sorry. The cover sheet has got the Union County School Board. It's got Chromebook RFP.
The memo.
It's a memo.
The memo from you to the board.
It's a memo. And within it, it's got a packet of just our invitation of the schools that we invited to come and participate. Also our rubric scoring and our sheets that are involved in that too.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Okay.
So what's the individual price per device?
The total price per device was $179 plus
includes case and everything.
includes the case, the transportation. We are what we call a white glove shipment. So we ask the vendors to ship the product directly to the schools and not drop it here and then incur a cost of Union County having to transport those devices.
Redistribute.
Yes, we ask them to register them with Google. Go ahead and put those on the device and send us a spreadsheet electronically of the computer serial numbers, the MAC addresses, so we can go ahead and preload those in also. So the only labor intensive piece is just scanning them and handing them to students. I mean, that's what the end result is.
Okay. And the other question is too, with was it land?
The Land School?
Land School. Is there any additional costs with monitoring, like monitor a computer up front to monitor the devices?
No, sir. Mr. Helms, it was if you go out and bid it, it'll be $3 to $5 per device if you go out on a private market and ask for that tool. And Lenovo has the tool in their suite of products, and they've offered it to us as part of the RFP, which is a great benefit to our district.
So I guess I can see that on their current laptop, current administrator laptop.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The other part of this that I asked to be part of the RFP is that the board knows currently and in years past, when a student in middle and high school wants or is issued a device, we require them to pay a fee and to sign off on forms indicating that they know they're responsible for the device. Moving forward, beginning next year, that fee will be wiped away. The fee is usually used for things like insurance and repair work. And we've built that into this proposal so that families across the entire school system will not be asked to have to pay that fee anymore. It's built in so that if we have a device that breaks or an issue because of the lease, we can ship it back to the manufacturer. They can repair it and send it back, which I think for our families will be a huge added benefit not to have to pay that. We do have situations where students are not able to pay that fee. And from 6th grade all the way through 12th. They're collecting debt for many years that has gone unpaid, and we end up having to absorb that cost. So the way that this has been built in, students will not have to do that anymore, which I think would be another added benefit to our families.
That is very nice.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
Jay, I had a question. Is this device the same as what we currently have, or can you talk to us
Okay.
about the difference between our existing Chromebooks and this Chromebook? Because I didn't see a model or anything.
Yes, ma'am. When we put it out there for the RFP, we asked for the vendors to send us their best products.
Mhm.
And the product that won was a model called N23. N as in Nancy 23. It is and you can see the specs on it. You know, it has 4 gig of memory and a 16 gig drive. It has a 2.4 megahertz speed processor. It's, you know, we'll have the product now is twice as fast as the ones that we have, and the clarity of the screen is better, and the wireless connectivity to our, access points is quicker. So what they provided is a more durable, better usable device in the classroom for instruction.
So this device will be an upgrade from
Oh.
what students have today.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. The ones that Dr. Houlihan mentioned are at end of life, and they are they're breaking at a 16% more rapid rate. And the ones we had didn't have shells on them. So these have shells. They're much more durable. They're commercial devices built for school districts.
Nice.
And part of the process was dropping these in the cases. So we had students drop them as they would walking down a hallway in a school on concrete. We had them knock them off a desk to see if they break, because we wanted a device that could stand the rigors of a school day. And both of them survived. We only had minimal damages to the HP, but both of them survived well. The Lenovo didn't show any damage at all.
Okay, very nice. And did I hear you to say that they would do all of the summer refresh for us?
They will assist us with the summer
Assist.
refresh. If we ask, they volunteered to bring in individuals from Lenovo to help repair the devices over the summer, help us collect them if we need it. That was part of the RFP. In the past, we have not called on them, but they said they would offer in the future with our 5-year to come in and help us.
And are we ordering a certain percentage as backup or spares with this number, or has that already been taken care of through our last request?
It's a combination of the two. We're
Okay.
ordering 25,500, and I think our projections are around 23,500 as far as the 6 through 12. It'll allow us some spare devices, and the 500 that we just purchased are the same model that the students will be using. So we've got some consistency. Mr. Moriel asked in the past about consistency of devices. The ones that we did purchase as spares and the ones we are going to purchase are the same model.
And the other thing too, this is a full replacement. If anything happens with the device,
Correct.
Lenovo will replace it, correct?
Lenovo will cover any damages other than fire and flood. If it burns into a plastic heap, or it goes underwater for a long period of time, they'll cover it from there. Anything else?
The one thing I'd like to let the board know is we are going to be pushed for time on this product in terms of delivering this by the first day of school. And so there may be some overlap between when we get the devices in and when we can deliver them to students, in the early fall, primarily due to when we receive funding. If we don't receive funding until July 1st, to be honest with you, the board approves this on May 1, we should be hitting the go switch the next day, because every day that passes, we are going to be backed up in terms of when we can deliver them to students. So I just want you all to know that we are going to be pushed on the delivery of these devices, and I cannot guarantee you that every 6th through 12th grader will have a brand new device by the first day of school. That's our goal.
It's our goal.
But there are other governing procedures at the county level that limit us from moving as fast as we can. Michelle, I don't know if you want to comment on the process with the LGC or not.
Yeah, there's a process, and we went through it previously for the local government commission to approve the purchase, and it requires a resolution from this board, a resolution from the county commissioners, and it's just a time-consuming process.
Does it prevent the ordering process? I mean, do we have to have that before we can even place the order, or can we go ahead and place the order and roll forward with those things?
Last time Lenovo would not start the order until it was approved because of the potential for the denial.
Do we have a resolution ready to go?
I believe that
We
Mr.
do.
Parker's got that all ready for the board.
We
meeting.
do, and if the board approves Lenovo as the vendor, we will notify them that they've won the RFP.
Mhm.
They need to ship the product from overseas to here and go ahead and stage it in some warehouses. So we would entertain our conversations with them to prep this work, to try to go ahead and bring it here, let them do the prep work so that when they do get the payment, we can get it out as quickly as possible to our schools.
Jay, I'd like to make sure that at the May 1st board meeting, we already have the resolution for our Board of Education. And if the committee is okay with that, we can even put that under consent. But I want to make sure that we've got to move on this. We cannot sit on it. It is going to be part of our full budget recommendation. So the county commissioners probably would not do their resolution until our budget is approved.
Is that something we might want to bring up tomorrow night?
No, because it hasn't been taken to the full board.
Okay. Well, I didn't know we will have a full board tomorrow.
It'll be a recommendation. It'll be on the screen when we go through the budget update. So I think if committee members want to mention to the Board of County Commissioners, remind them of the process and that we'll be taking a resolution. I don't think that would hurt.
And
Okay.
the meeting's on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, no, the joint meeting is tomorrow. Our board.
Full board. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
One more question too,
Yes, sir.
just for the public. What's the current age of the current devices?
They were ordered in March 2013.
Okay, so
And
right
so
at 5
they're
years.
they're at the end of the 5 years. There is a small percentage of that, less than 1,000 that are 2012 that were ordered initially to prep and start the one-to-one process. But majority of them are 5 years old.
And the other question, I guess, is more, is there any state funding we can use for purchase of laptops?
I don't know. Dr. Jones is back there. I know that we receive instructional funds for things like textbooks and digital software, but I don't believe hardware like devices is part of the, he's shaking his head no, is part of that allotment that we get in terms of spending. I've not heard of state funds being allocated for this.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more questions on the RFP selection?
No, for me.
I don't have any.
Joe,
I'm good.
what was that?
I'm good.
Okay.
Want a motion to recommend it to the full
Yeah,
board?
we need a motion to recommend.
Okay, so I make a motion that we recommend this purchase to the full board at our May 1st meeting.
I'll second.
Two 2 seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. And next on the agenda is the technology plan for, I guess, the 5-year plan from 2018 to 2021.
Yes, sir. I just want to call your attention to a packet. It's 41 pages long, so it's pretty intense.
We're not going to go through it.
No, we're not. I won't go through it all. I sent this to you last week. I just want to, if you have any questions about it, but basically it's just a high-level technology plan from 18 to 21, and it's used for E-rate purposes and transparency. It just gives an indicator of where we're headed, what devices we're using, what processes we're using, and talks about our technology advisory board committee members that are cross-sectional principals and instructional staff.
Anything that stands out you want to mention in here? Any changes?
No, sir. Mr. Helms, we need to post this onto our website, but before we posted it, I wanted the Board of Education to review it and look at it to see if they have any recommendations or changes. But we've vetted this through 3 processes now, and gone through 3 committees, even our technology board with the principals, and everybody's approved it so far without any of these changes are all reflected in here.
So is this something you would want to put on consent, or just so that the full board has an opportunity to look at it, or how do you want to handle it?
It doesn't need approval.
Okay.
If the committee would like for it to go on consent as an information item, we can. We could even also ask Mr. Parker to send it to the full board today in an email, just as an FYI that
Let's
this will
do
be
it that way.
posted.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
But it doesn't require board approval but I think as Mr. Parker, either in the Friday superintendent's update or an email today, he can send that out to the full board. And
Then my recommendation would be just send an email today to the
Sure.
full board and get prepared for it to go to the website.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. The next item is our technology update.
Yes, the Z-Scaler, I just want to provide you with the Z-Scaler update, which is just part of our packet of items that you have. And it just draws your, I don't know, did you? No. Okay.
I printed everything that you sent me.
All right. The Z-Scaler, I just want to give you an update with that.
in here.
It's an internet filtering product that allows you to, students to go through a web filter front end. And it should be, you should see a paper that looks like this. But basically, we've converted over, all the students are over onto this new platform.
And Ms. Boyd, Mr. Morrell, this is the PowerPoint that Jay had emailed to you last
Mhm.
week. I think it was last week.
Yeah, I got
It
it.
was.
Thank you.
And it's just showing a timeline of our conversion with our Z-Scaler over to from Lightspeed. In the past, we used a product called Lightspeed for internet filtering. Cost was $300,000. And the state DPI provides a product called Z-Scaler that a lot of large districts use. And we converted over to it, so there's no cost there. The cost savings that we incurred go back into our disaster recovery funds for the future. So without paying for Lightspeed anymore, we converted to Z-Scaler. That's staff and students. So we're fully converted all the way over to now. We're just doing some elementary schools are the last ones left.
Okay, good.
So I'm talking about Power Teacher Pro. Power Teacher Pro Gradebook is the gradebook that all of the teachers will use for next year. I'm just giving you an update that we have trained our staff. We're ready, and they'll be using a new product. And this is district wide. Also, for the whole state has to convert by August 2018.
And how are the teachers handling that?
It's very intuitive. I mean, really, from the schools that went in as a pilot last year, they said it really wasn't that difficult. We had the trainer model. We've already gone through. We're in the clusters now, going back through remediation of trainings.
Because that's a few changes in the past few years, I know.
It has been.
I'm sure they're not happy, but
Jay, for our parents out there, I know as a parent, I get alerts because I've signed up thanks to a few folks that have taught me how to do this to check my child's grades on
Right.
Power School.
Yes, sir.
Will there be a new app that parents need to know about or a new Power School Gradebook, or is this going to be configured in the same way?
It's the same way. The grade book from the school instructional side changes, but from the parent portal, there's no changes.
So parents won't need to go download a new app or sign
No,
up
sir.
for an, okay.
There's no.
This grade book will go into Power School.
It is. It's part of the Power School suite, and what the biggest accomplishment is, it doesn't have Java plugin, which restricted our Apple products from using it. The new gradebook runs Java free, so it'll run it's HTML5, so it runs off of any Apple platform, iOS platform now, and PC, and it's much more intuitive, and usability is great on this one. I mean, it's the district, Cumberland County, which is close to us over in Fayetteville. I spoke with their tech teams several times over the conversion last year, and they said that was really a really easy transition for the teachers. They adopted it. It went really well. So. Yeah, the Clever single sign-on is just our unique way of having students and staff log into one portal and get to digital tools. We're progressing through and slowly getting all of our applications over to it. Met with some teachers in kindergarten. They said the biggest thank you was that single sign-on. So now they don't have to remember, a lot of young students' passwords and usernames, that now they just log in one time and all the students get access to the tools. So they said that helped them tremendously in time. It saved them 15, 20 minutes every morning. So it's a good.
And we're asking most of our new software vendors to
We are.
incorporate that. They have to incorporate that.
And again, it's no cost to the district.
Very good. Anything else on the technology update?
No, sir, unless, do you want to cover the budget now, Michelle, item up there?
However y'all want to handle it.
I can just review our proposed capital budget. This is on the screen in front of you, and it just talks about our Lenovo devices of 3,200 Lenovo devices for instructional principals, teachers. That's $635,000 lease payments. The student devices were budgeted at just over $2 million, which was now it is going to be greatly reduced because we're came in much under that amount for the 10.2. And the backup and storage equipment is just what we recommended for next year to replace our SAN storage. And we went out to, we got 2 cloud storage quotes, and both of them came in at $40,000 and $69,000 a month to, to replace what our existing infrastructure is. And for us, over a 5-year period, it's going to be over $2 million in cases. We keep our existing, it only costs $485,000 for 5 years.
Okay, so if the number 2, the student devices, if it's no longer 2 million, what is it?
The budget, it's $8,555,000 is what the RFP budget was. So it'll come in much under this. The original bid was set up for just over $2 million. And we did not know who was going to get this or the amount we were going to get. But
So what's the year one cost?
I guess divided by 5?
It's 8,500,000 divided by 5.
1.710.
Okay. And you threw out a number for the administrator devices. This is going to be year 2, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many devices did you say that
There's
was?
3,200 Lenovo L570s laptops. And that was
And the 635 is the lease
Lease
payment
payment,
for
yes,
that
ma'am.
one for the full year.
it is. And it's that encompasses all of our principals, all of our teachers, most of our instructional staff and support personnel.
I would just add that teachers are very appreciative of this spring semester.
Oh,
They've seen a major difference. Yeah.
Yeah, theirs were 5 to 6 years old too.
So with that, do we need to update our spreadsheet to the county?
Well,
We'll have to update this slide to reflect the new budgeted amount, but that's going to have to take place after we meet with the finance committee, probably on Monday, and go to the full board on Tuesday, because we have all the other recommendations or requests from the board last night.
So we can't change this slide for our joint meeting tomorrow?
We can, or we can just mention tomorrow that price is going to come down
Okay.
to
Okay.
1.7.
decrease.
Because that will then throw off all the other numbers in terms of our balanced budget as it stands before the board takes action. So
Okay,
we'll make note of it and be able to communicate tomorrow night what the real number is.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jay. This is very good information. We appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Do we want to just move into the transportation budget, keep it consistent?
Sure.
Morning, how are y'all today?
Good morning.
So Marlon, Mark, can you briefly walk through the recommended increases to the transportation budget and why these 2 pieces are needed at the time?
Okay. So currently we have, and I'm gonna start with the bus lifts first. Currently we have 1 bus lift for approximately 6 bays at our current facility. And the last time that we have actually asked or purchased lifts was back in 2012. And so I think that transitioning to a new facility, as well as being able to utilize lifts currently, would be a great benefit for our mechanics. We're currently fully staffed, which means that we have mechanics inside the shop that are ready and available to work on buses on a daily basis, but we do need those additional resources to help expedite some of the repairs and maintenance that we do currently.
So you have one lift currently for 6 bays?
Yes, sir. We have one lift, one mobile lift, and it's wireless. And we're asking for approximately 2 more lifts, if possible. And the last time that we purchased some lifts was back in 2012.
And these are mobile. You can take them from
Bay to bay, yes,
bay to
sir.
bay. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so,
Guys, can I have a quick logistical request? It seems like the microphone's very far away from Marlon and right next to somebody typing notes.
That's
Me typing notes, sorry.
That's good right there. They can't hear me then.
so the $80,000 would be enough for 2 mobile lifts.
Yes, ma'am. It would be enough for 2 wireless mobile lifts.
And so when the new transportation facility is ready for operation, could these 2 lifts, since they're mobile, be taken to a new facility?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And are these mobile, or you take them out of the field also?
We really don't take them out in the field.
Because I know you have to have level ground and
right.
everything. So
And I asked at the last meeting, but I just want to put it on the record that this is not something that was included in the capital bond project, right?
that's correct.
That is correct.
Okay. Cameras?
Yeah,
The next item is bus cameras. We currently have, just to give you historical data, last year we did a 100 camera unit refresh. The year before we did a 100 camera unit refresh. And this year we have not purchased any cameras for this particular school year. And we would love to purchase about 50 units to replace some of our obsolete camera units, as well as those that are not currently working. I've been around to a few schools, gotten feedback about some of the cameras, and we do have probably 80 camera units that are currently not working.
Now, these cameras, are they wireless in the buses? I mean, do you have to pull SD cards or?
Yes, sir. There's a hard drive that we pull, and we actually, once we pull the hard drive, we download that information to what we call a Q drive, a shared drive, where principals can go in remotely and look at the footage that we put inside the shared drive.
And have we ever looked at wireless on those?
Yes, sir. We are currently piloting, and I use that word lightly. Our vendor allowed us to, or allowing us to look at live data or live feed right now on about 2 of our buses, but that requires some additional equipment like
modem and
right
everything.
And Wi-Fi access.
And what's the cost difference between those 2 products?
Well, the cameras are if we were able to get the new units that they currently have, it will have that capability. We would just have to activate the capability of it. But the units itself, I don't remember the exact price per unit, but I think if I recall correctly, 50 units will be close to $150,000.
Okay.
Marlon, do we have cameras on all of our buses? Because, and I'm not necessarily recalling any particular event from this school year, but in the past, let's say there was a school situation, and there have been times in the last 3.5 years that I've been on the board that I have received comments, oh, there's not a camera on this bus. Where are we today? Are there some buses that do not have a camera, or do 100% of our buses on a route have a camera? And I know you just said that 80 are not working.
Right.
So,
and we do have, I think if I recall correctly, all of our buses have cameras, but we have units that are currently not working. They're obsolete units.
Now, do you see any benefits in camera feeds in real time?
Oh yes, the unit that I actually looked at probably a week or 2 ago, the driver was actually pulling into the bus lot, and I could see the actual diesel truck pull in to actually fuel the buses, that particular morning. So I was able to see the driver, what time they parked at the lot, as well as seeing the technician to see what time he actually arrived on the lot to fuel the buses. So it's a great benefit. You can also see the driver as they're going down the road, as well as the kids. You can see some things as they're going down the road also. But I think it's a great benefit.
Do these cameras capture if a vehicle runs a stopped school bus? Do we have cameras that
That's a separate
capture that? Or it's a completely separate?
It is, and we have very limited amount of buses that have the stop arm cameras. I want to say roughly 20 to 27 buses that may have the stop arm camera units. And we applied each year. DPI gives you an opportunity to apply for funding for stop arm cameras. Each county, for 100 counties, each county is allotted 2 stop arm cameras. But if those counties decide not to request for those cameras, they give other counties opportunity to request more. And so I always request more. As a matter of fact, I always request the maximum, and that's 10. And this year we were actually granted 4 stop arm cameras from DPI, and they give us the funding for it.
And with the stop arm cameras also, can police use the footage to actually cite citations to people?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How often does that happen? Is it a needed? Is this a big need, a high need, or does it not happen very often?
I can't, this is going to sound strange. I can't recall each year we do an annual stop arm violation count. Each county does. And last year the numbers were around 89, I think. This year I can't remember the totals, but we have to submit that information to DPI so that they can give us feedback on the number of violations we had on that particular day each year. And I think we always do it in March.
So there's 89 last year?
I think it was 89 violations, if I
That's
recall
how many
correctly.
cameras?
Well, that was drivers having to count for the violations on one particular day. So it's like a snapshot of the entire year. Right. And this is drivers actually recording the violations. With the cameras itself, I don't know how many violations that we've actually had that we submitted over to law enforcement. I'm unsure of the number.
I know in some states, school systems explore the idea that when a citation is issued for running a stop school bus, that a percentage or a portion of that citation, when paid, comes back to the school system. Do you know what North Carolina state law says about that?
Well, currently, if we decided to move in that direction, the city or the county would have to pass an ordinance. And once that ordinance is passed, then we will be able to get resources from certain vendors. I think 2 vendors have approached me so far where they would provide cameras for every single bus of no charge, and the violations or portions of the violation, the funding that they receive, portions of it would go back to the school system as well as the county.
Kind of like the red light cameras, but
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
the
And,
difference between infraction and violations
Yeah.
and those things.
and I think the difference between now and I guess several years ago is that you had to be able to actually identify the driver. And I don't think that's the case anymore. Now it's just, identifying the vehicle as well as the tags and the time of the day that the violation happened.
Yeah, because that turns into an infraction versus a criminal citation.
okay. I guess that concludes the technology and transportation budget. Next item on the agenda is the Monroe Cluster Bell Schedule.
So I bring this item to you all today for feedback. This does not require action from the committee, but I would like to get
Dr.
you.
Lynn,
Yes.
I'm sorry, real quick, before we jump off budget, I did have a question that came out of our recap or our work session yesterday. There was talk about funding as far as like for sports events and other activities, being able to transport teams like bands, basically additional transportation requests for sporting events to be able to transport cheerleaders, bands, basically other areas that make up the game. And I wanted to basically just ask Mr. Strickland and Mr. Watson if they can started looking into what the impact of that might be on transportation. So one, do we have activity buses to be able to handle that? And two, what would the impact be from a cost perspective? Just so we're prepared for it.
We can get that information for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Morial, that will be, our goal is to get all this information to the full board as requested last night by end of this week, so that the Finance Committee can meet on Monday and have a discussion on additional priorities of the board. But yes, that is on the list to be researched for prior to the beginning of next week.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So the final item, I believe, on the agenda is for feedback from this committee, considering that it revolves around transportation. If the board will remember, back in February, the full board approved 3 additional elementary schools to apply for a restart model. Those 3 schools are Walter Bickett Elementary, East Elementary, and Benton Heights. At the February board meeting, I mentioned publicly that part of their restart application that they would like to consider is extending their school year by 30 minutes. At the time, I did not realize the impact that may have on transportation to other Monroe area schools, including CATA and UC Early College and other schools. And so we have been exploring the impact that that decision may have for next year on bell schedules. At the elementary and middle school level, we have received no negative feedback on this, and none from Monroe High School either. We have received some questions about CATA and UC Early College.
Yeah.
And so before this was intended to be a final proposal for consideration and feedback at the school level. I think that the message got out that this was a final done deal, and I wanted to be on record publicly to say it was a final proposal we're exploring. But before we make a final decision, I wanted to get feedback from this committee on what we've researched. The obvious one answer that you'll see in the memo is we do nothing. We don't do anything in terms of changing the bell schedules of these 3 elementary schools for their restart. What that means is that they would have to identify their tier 3 kids that might need after school tutoring that can provide their own transportation home. That is something that we currently do. It's not ideal, but it is an option. If we wanted to extend the school year or the school day in these schools by 30 minutes, I've asked Mr. Watson and Mr. Strickland to research what a couple of possible scenarios may be. And they have met with both principals of these schools who have given a recommendation on what they think would be most doable. But I'll let Mr. Watson kind of go into the current state in terms of the current bell schedule and 2 recommendations of how we could make this possible in our current transportation system if we wanted to move in that direction. So, Marlon? So
currently our current bell schedule for the CATA as well as early college is 8:50 start time as well as a 3:30 dismissal time. Early college has a 9:30 start time as well as a 4 p.m. Dismissal time. And moving these schools in the Monroe cluster to a extended instructional day will have an impact. And so we were able to come up with two recommendations for you to consider. And the first recommendation, if you would follow along with me, CATA and early college students will be transported from the student's neighborhood to their base or zone high school. The CATA students would then be shuttled from the base high school to CATA, and early college students would be shuttled from the high school to early college. Now, in the first recommendation, it would require a bell schedule change for early college, and that will help to eliminate any layovers from the time that they arrive on campus to the time that they reach the early college campus.
And that change would be starting 20 minutes early. It would not it would not impact the end time at either school. The early college would then start at 9:10, but they would still end at 4 o'clock. So they would have 20 more extra minutes of their instructional day as well.
And both of these recommendations, there would be no shift or no change for the afternoon transportation pattern that we're currently using. So it would be the same in the afternoon. There would just be the time, I mean, not the times, but the schools would actually be affected in the morning. There would be no change for the afternoon.
Okay, so recommendation number 1 is suggesting that CATA and early college students would catch the bus to their assigned school, and then they would take a shuttle from their assigned school to early college or CATA.
Yes.
And if my calculation is correct, that means these children, these students would start their transportation route from the time they get on the bus to CATA or early college. They would be on the bus almost 2.5 hours.
Well, the routes for the
2 hours and 20 minutes to be exact.
Okay. The routes for the base high schools are not very long routes. The time that is going to be extended would be the layover or the time that the buses actually arrive until the time they actually get on the shuttle, and that's what I mean by layover.
So what that means is if you look at the time on the bus in terms of ridership, you would have an average increase of 7 minutes for each of these. The extra time would be, I'll give you an example. If I am a zone to Cuthbertson High School and then I have to take a shuttle from Cuthbertson to CATA, the time that I'm on the bus will increase by about 7 minutes on average, but I may be at Cuthbertson at that layover shuttle stop for longer than that, and that's where you get the extra time.
Yeah, so I think extending a student's day an extra 2 hours or 20 minutes just to get to CATA, and with all due respect, a 7 minute 7 minutes sounds nice, but it has increased their, the time they have to get ready for school. They are preparing for school 2 hours and 20 minutes before they walk into the building. And I'm not sure that that would work for my family. And I don't know if it would work for many other families to have, for their transportation time frame to take 2.5 hours in the morning just to get to school.
And is that correct, that it would be 2.5 hours?
I don't think it would be 2.5 hours because we try to have a target time of, if the school is starting at 8:50, our target time would be about 8:20. And we try to.
What time are they? But they're having to get to their bus stop for their home assignment at, let's say, 6:50 in the morning or 6:30 in the morning to get to Sun Valley or Porter Ridge or Cuthbertson or Marvin, and I'm confident that it's around 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Which will leave, if we're looking at the actual ride time.
Or early college starts at 9:30. Okay, so I have a high school student, and so if his bus is 7:25 to get to his homeschool assignment, and then if he wanted to then go to early college or CATA, they don't start till 9:30 or 8:50. So you're going from 7:25 in the morning to getting to CATA or early college at 9:30. Or 9:30 starts. I'm just saying that's a long morning before school starts. And I think that's time when they could get maybe an extra hour sleep or a healthy breakfast or preparing for a quiz or a test or wrapping up homework because they had practice the night before. I'm just speaking as a parent.
I understand. Yeah.
How do the early college kids get to school now?
Early college.
They have dedicated buses in the morning to get to school.
Okay.
And the ride time right now is it's not a short ride time because it's a magnet model, meaning once you pull from all over the county, you're going to have an extended ride time. This really shouldn't increase the ride time. Again, it should, the time that's going to be consumed is the layover, meaning once the shuttle bus, which should be the first bus that arrives on campus.
I understand what the layover is. Can you do the model for how long it takes the kids, their time from the time they get on the bus until they get to school now, compared to what you're proposing? And we could get a true picture. Because it does sound like an awful lot of time right now, but I don't know what it is with the proposed, but I don't know what it is now.
So I guess what we need the average ride time, and then on the second option, have the average ride time plus the layover time is what she's asking.
And I know that we've parked a lot of buses over the last year and this year. Have we considered just allotting buses for those 3 schools that changed their time for the restart? Because I'm not sure how I feel about changing the times for 3 elementaries and then impacting everyone else.
So a couple of things. First of all, these are the lowest performing schools in our county.
Mm-hmm.
So the more instructional time these children can have, the better.
That's not the argument. The argument is why would we want to impact all of the high school students and CATA and early college and affect their schedules for 3 restarts?
The second point I was going to make is if you want to unpark buses for either one of these schools, you're looking at approximately 10 dedicated buses, which is an average cost of $50,000 a piece. So your transportation budget would increase by $500,000 if we wanted to do that. If you wanted to unpark buses and have those dedicated to specifically these schools to not impact the bell schedules of others, then that would be your cost. The shuttle system as an idea, from what I understand, when CATA used to be the career center, the shuttle system was used. And when CATA opened as CATA, the new transportation model was implemented as a way to market and recruit families to choose to want to go to CATA as an added benefit. At least that's my historical understanding. So there has been a time in which we've used the shuttle system. And I would add that by doing this would approximately save the school system about $600,000 in this recommendation.
So currently CATA and early college, they have their own dedicated buses.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to wrap my head around all this. Why
Why
the elementary schools, why this affects all these other ones?
If they have their own dedicated buses, why are we changing their bill schedule?
Well, they have dedicated buses after they perform the first tier, after they drop off at the first tier, then they have the dedicated buses.
Okay.
So their tiers are coming from the 3 elementary schools.
Yes.
Yes.
What is the cost of the added shuttle expense for this proposal? What is the cost of the shuttle system?
Actually, it would reduce costs because you wouldn't have as many buses traveling across the county to get these kids to school. Meaning you would have, you may have 1 bus in each cluster coming to the school, because we currently have 34 buses in the morning that services CATA, as well as 20 buses in the morning that service early college. And you wouldn't need nearly as many buses coming in the morning. In the afternoon, again, you'd have to have dedicated routes in the afternoon.
I got a lot of phone calls and a lot of very unhappy students and parents, students who have part-time jobs after school and other, extracurricular things that teenagers have after school. And it was a lot of concern about this change.
So our first look at this was not well received with the additional time, and we heard that as well. This was an opportunity to go back and look at what we could do just for those couple of schools. And I think you all may have answered the question, but keep in mind that in the cluster system, we've got buses that service east that also service Sun Valley. So we're trying to maximize the the utilization of the buses. And so that's why they're all tied in together with this cluster. And with the opportunity to increase instructional day at the restart schools, it was necessary to adjust some of the other cluster schools as well. And as Dr. Houlihan said, at the middle and high school, this was well received as far as lengthening the school day some. The problem and the challenge came in with just at CATA and UCEC.
So I guess the challenge is it's the balance between the kids that have sports and jobs and the kids that need a chance in the elementary schools to succeed. So that's our balance. We've got, that I see. We've got to figure out some kind of way for Team UCPS to get it all working. We can't look at one, just the other. We've got to figure out a compromise that's not overly dramatic,
Well, with the first scenario that was not well received and not successful, that would have been a problem with getting out much later in the afternoons. With these two new proposals, we have addressed that. The trade-off is that there would be some additional time spent on the bus, but we would maintain the afternoon dismissal times at CATA and UCEC.
So that was the number one concern I heard. And in terms of feedback from the public, I received 2 emails from parents and 1 from a student. So a total of 3 emails from that community from CATA.
I know some of our county commissioners got phone calls about this as well. So
then this recommendation, to Mr. Strickland's point, we are not changing the dismissal time at either school. And that was one of the major points that was made to me, is for students who have internships or jobs or play sports, if you end the high school as proposed later, that might be an issue. And so in this recommendation, we've addressed that. The trade-off is you would be on the bus longer.
A longer morning,
You'd
from beginning from point A to point B, it'd be a 2.5-hour morning to get to school or start school.
And if you look at the actual ride times for the high school, just looking at, take for instance a Sun Valley where you have a 22-minute average ride time, that means that the kids are getting to, they're actually getting to the high school very quickly. But again, the layover is where you're going to account for your time for that child to get to school. But this will help with improving on-time arrival, because we currently struggle to get kids to school to CATA each morning. But this will help with on-time arrival, because that shuttle will leave the same time each and every day to ensure that those kids get to school on time.
Another item that came up in our discussions with these 2 high school principals was the possibility, the option, the possibility of, instead of that student getting on the first bus going to their home school, would they have the opportunity to be driven to school, at a later point in time, get in the car line, go through the car line, get out and go straight to their bus. That was something that they brought up as well, that we are discussing and looking into. That would prohibit that child from getting on the bus early first thing in the morning and having a long ride or a ride first thing. They could go to school.
Their home school.
Their home school, just like everybody else in the car line.
Assuming they have transportation.
Exactly, and that was brought up as well.
So early college and CATA, does early college have its own separate bus system, or is it attached to CATA?
Or they rely on the
Each other.
elementary routes completing and then beginning.
So in this first option, they would actually ride together as they're being shuttled. In the second option, we would actually have a separate bus for early college as well as a separate bus for CATA. In the second option, the difference is the kids that attend early college would actually ride into school with the middle school kids because of the later bell schedule, because of the middle school taking in at 8:45 and early college start time is 9:30. So they would ride with the middle school kids to eliminate, a huge amount of layover, and then they would be transported after they arrive at the middle school over to early college. And just to give you a little more feedback from the principals, they were very open to option or recommendation number 2.
But currently, the early college it shares a bus system with CATA.
We do have a shuttle that runs from CATA to early college, but that's a very small amount of
And
students.
what's the ridership for early college?
I think out of 250, I think we were transporting out of 250 kids. I think we were actually transporting about 180 students.
Okay.
Okay, and if I'm reading this correctly, Mr. Watson, it appears that there's only like 1 or 2 minute difference between recommendation 1 and recommendation 2 as far as ride time. It looks like recommendation 2 has only reduced the ride time by 1 or 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. I think the biggest difference between recommendation 1 and 2 would be the bell schedule change in recommendation 1, as well as recommendation 2 requiring the early college kids to ride into school with the middle school students.
So the bell start does not change for recommendation 2.
No, ma'am. And that was the preferred recommendation by the principals when we received their input or feedback.
And what's the ridership at CATA currently?
I don't have it. I can get it for you. I don't have it with me.
Okay.
Sorry.
Recommendation 2 would be a cost savings of about $570,000.
Yes, sir.
Again, we just wanted feedback from the board. We have not made a final decision on this. We're not seeking approval, but we wanted to know whether or not you would advise us to proceed with these and continue to explore this with their communities, or if you believe that at the current time we should pause and not try to extend the schedules of these 3 elementary schools and continue as we've done currently to have after-school tutoring for kids who are available to provide their own transportation. But that's really the feedback we wanted to hear from you all today.
My feedback is I would say pause.
I'll also add that, remember, CATA and early college, as you all know, are schools of choice, which means parents and families are choosing to send their kids there. And I do not believe that by adding additional time on their bus schedule that you will lose interest in either of those schools. It's just my opinion.
Right. I don't think we'll lose interest. I think some children in the coming years might make a different choice now that we are back to a neighborhood school assignment. I think we may see an impact from that point of view. Because I think there was an increase in these schools when they lost their neighborhood schools back in 2014. There was a significant increase in the lottery process. So we may see a small decline now that we're going back to a neighborhood model. But for the students that are there, that may be in their 2nd year at CATA, their 3rd year at CATA, they've already bought into this system. And I personally don't see changing, their schedule and increasing their morning commute.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's something to think about, maybe, with a new cycle or when they first come in and when they get used to it.
That's never going to change because you're always going to have kids on a cycle every year.
Well, I know that, but if you tell people that are coming in 2 years when they're freshmen, I know, or just at least they can, yeah, that's true.
I follow you.
At some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're going to ever make a change at some point, you're going
to have to, it's a matter of, part of it is getting people's minds around it too. Just like we did with the reassignment, we talked about it for like a year and a half. So it may be that we just kind of start getting people comfortable with the idea. Because you're right, we're going to,
I follow you.
The new freshman, yeah,
So it
Yeah.
might be something that we should, if we really wanted to do this, it could be for fall of 19 as a consideration
Right.
and spend the entire coming year exploring this with the community and maybe educating your rising 8th graders, because they will be the ones who apply a year from now for the fall. I follow you. Okay.
Yeah, I agree
And
with
then
that.
maybe come up with something, hey, this is your homework time, this layover time. This is when you can just try to get their minds around what they can do to supplement that time.
So I think we still need to continue looking at other alternatives to make this work. I applaud you for the 2 recommendations you brought us this morning. I would just say let's continue looking at other options to make this better for CATA and early college, and just continue getting community feedback and principals, and absolutely not creating a situation where a student's morning has now, as opposed to taking an hour to get ready for school, now they have to plan and be a project manager for 2.5 hours. That's my only concern right now, is making sure that we have not increased the morning planning for those students before school when they've already worked the night before or had a late football game or cross country and traveling on an activity bus, and then we're adding more time to their morning. That's my only concern. If you can figure that part out, I would like to hear more.
Yeah. I'd like to see.
Or if we need to supplement the restart, if we need to explore having their own buses and the cost associated with that. We've got to look at, what the needs of those kids are too. So I don't want it that, I don't want it to be said that I don't, care about those schools that are, underperforming, that we need to do what we can for them too.
Well, Mrs.
So,
Boyd, we've already voted
know.
and supported those 3 elementary schools. So I think the board has unanimously said that we support those 3 elementary schools and the superintendent's objective for helping those students. But what we didn't realize and what we're learning today is that it affected our high school students. So now we've got to figure out how to take care of the high school students.
As I was saying, what I was saying is if it's going to cost for the additional buses that are dedicated for that, then we may need to explore that as well, not impacting other students.
Correct.
Yeah, I was going to say too, I would like to see the numbers for CATA and early college to have their own bus system separate. Not tied
Right,
to
that's what I
elementary.
was saying, Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you speaking of leaving, given the Monroe cluster schools, the 30 additional minutes, as well as not affecting?
Well, what I'm saying is having CATA and early college have their own bus systems that's not tied to elementary schools.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 2 to 3 hours a day.
Yeah. What about the afternoons too? Yeah.
That's,
Those afternoons and everything.
We will continue to look at additional options. We had some conversations just in the last few minutes. We'll continue to look and leave no stone unturned. And if there's some other viable options that we can bring back to you all, we will do that.
Okay.
And I would just encourage you, we talked about, a task force last night. Put together a task force, that includes parents, students, site-based principals. And that way, we're not 16-year-old students anymore that are having to meet this bus or that shuttle or a layover here, or, put together, I would recommend a possible task force to get that buy-in from the students, the parents, the teachers, the principals, site-based. Maybe that would help, so that, when you have a great idea, that it works for all parties.
and Mr. Hams, just to go back and answer your question about the layover, it would not be more than a half an hour, because again, the target time for the high schools, the drop-off time is 7:30, and we do have buses trickle in after that, but we would have those buses leave no later than 8 o'clock and as early as 7:50. So it wouldn't be more than a 20 to 30 minute layover.
And Mr. Watson, is the layover only on the AM route, not the afternoon route? We would not be going back to the the assignment in the afternoon and catching another shuttle to get home on the PM route?
Correct.
That is
Nothing will
only
be
morning.
affected in the afternoon. It will
Okay.
be the same. And
So they go from CATA or early college back straight home.
yes, sir, that's what they're currently doing. This will be a savings in the morning. And also it would help to ensure that the buses arrive on time.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, so we'll continue to explore this, and if we have any other viable options, we will come back to the committee.
Yeah, get creative.
We've tried to be about as creative as we can on this one, to be honest, but we'll continue to research.
All right, that concludes our agenda. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Mr. Morial had to drop off at